call the July 29th Public Utilities Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Higgins?
Here.
Matten?
Here.
O'Day?
Here.
Anglin?
Here. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, would like to get approval of the agenda. I do have one comment of the agenda. I would like to move discussion of the annexation request related to Dunmeyer's before the Personnel Committee, just to allow James the amount of time to make some comments before he has to take off. Anybody else have any other amendments to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Just a voice vote? Okay, no, it says it right there. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters listed are considered routine by the commission and will all be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Higgins?
Yes.
Matten?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Anglin?
Yes. All right, motion passes. We will now move into public forum. This time is allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the commission. Time limits may be imposed. Is anybody here for public forum? Okay, nobody here. Anybody online? No? Okay. We will then move on to the commission committee reports. And again, we will begin with the discussion of the annexation request related to Dunmeyer's and Mr. James Craven, Danny? Okay, Danny, if you want to take it up.
So I can start. With the annexation of the property, Chris Dunmeyer has reached out and asked for commission to consider reducing the 200% out of city limits bill rate to the 100% bill rate for those within the city limits as the process is going through. The request has gone through all of the proper channels. It's sitting at the state. The only thing the state can deny this for at this point is for procedural purposes. James can correct me if I'm wrong at all.
Yeah, I'll just update the commission here on where we're at. So City Council did pass an ordinance that allows for the annexation of Dunmeyer's. So that does have to be printed for 1 week in our paper. At that point, we send it to a municipal boundary judge in Minnesota. They review to make sure that everything's been done correctly. If there's any errors, that's potentially where something could get, kicked back to us and would have to be redone. But for all intents and purposes, as long as it meets the requirements and state statutes, it would be processed and annexed. We'll be probably mailing that to the judge next week. Takes typically about 3 to 4 weeks to process. That's the last one that we did on Riverside was about that 3 to 4 week time frame.
Yes, Danny?
Additionally, we are looking at, we want commission's discussion on how would we want to move forward with some of these. We anticipate more annexation requests coming in the future. And so is this something we want to set a precedent as it happening at the time full annexation is completed? What are those other items that commission might be looking for setting this 100 to 200% rate?
I have a question. Once it's submitted to the state, is it possible after that it could be stopped?
I have not seen any record of somebody withdrawing their petition. That's not something that's common. So we'd have to do additional research on something like that. Again, very low percentage of something like that happening. If there's some type of procedural error on the ordinance, for instance, if there wasn't the right person notified or the legal description was inaccurate, it could potentially have to be redone. Then you're looking at probably another 60 days to process. So that's really the only time that you might have to see an extension of time on something like that. It's not typically something that could be rejected by the state for other purposes.
And did I see in here that there was some procedural error? What?
That would be, that's just making the commission aware that that there's a potential for that. But again, we certainly did our due diligence and made sure that we double checked the legal description of the property. It was quite lengthy. So staff believes that we have the correct ordinance in there, but that is a potential when you're submitting stuff to the boundary line judge.
I personally don't have a problem once it's been submitted to the state that can go forward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
did you finish, Mark, or?
Yep, go ahead, John.
I just had a question about the, when this got hooked up, and there was some issues there, and did this property receive services without paying double at any point in time, and if so, for how long? That might want to be a consideration. If anybody answers that one.
So there were some issues when this project was being connected. I can't speak to the utilities. I know that there was a bit of a scramble once the work was being done. We were aware of it, but they had some heavy machinery out there that needed to do some of the excavation work. And I know some of the BPU staff had to kind of get out there quick to make sure everything was appropriately installed. I cannot speak to how they were charged after that, however.
Yeah, I guess my question was that, so then if they had been receiving services without the double charge, for how long did that occur, if it did? I don't know if we can answer that here, so I just thought I'd throw that out there for consideration.
Thanks, Jeff. As of right now, staff are not aware that they did not pay 200%, but we can get back to you.
Dolly?
And if what we're doing right now is going to be setting precedents, then my recommendation would be to continue until final approval has been completed. And if we wanted to, we could consider the first of the month that it is approved. Because anything can happen, and if we're extending, then if something does happen and we have to extend it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or it gets rescinded, then we go back to the drawing board. And I think just to keep things simple, I think final approval should until we get final approval, it should remain as is, but we could consider backdating and giving a credit for the first of that month. It would just be my suggestion.
Would you want to go back to what their billing date is?
No, because again, I mean, if we're extending 30, 60, 90, and what if they rescind the annexation request? What if the property owner said, you know what, no, forget it, I'm not going to do it? And if we're setting precedents for all exceptions or all, instances going forward, then I think we have to have kind of a generalized procedure or a policy.
So I'm new here and wasn't involved with commission. Am I understanding this right? Anybody that's on that sewer and water running out to the airport that gets hooked up, if they're not annexed into the city, we'll hook them up, but we charge them double? Is that power too? We don't have power out there, just sewer and water, correct?
No, we have power outside of the corporate city limits of Brainerd, but it does not apply to the electric distribution grid, just the water system.
Because so for power, we don't care if they're annexed or not, we just sell them power.
Correct.
Okay. I agree with Dolly 100%. Whatever we do needs to be the same and consistent so that we're not sitting here talking about little stuff like this. And it could be big, I could see somebody, in one of those big vacant parcels doing some big commercial project someday. And I think whatever we do needs to be consistent. And I do agree. I mean, look at one of the other debacles we have going right now as a commission. It's, we're going to do this. It doesn't happen. It gets kicked down the road. Something changes beyond our control, and then we're just constantly talking about it. So I don't care what time frame we do, but I guess I do agree with Dolly. It needs to be the same. It needs to be consistent, and it would make sense that once it's done, not half done.
Yes, James.
Yeah, so certainly understand that. Wondering if the commission would be, potentially open to, if there was a procedural error done by staff, perhaps we could bring that to commission to, say, potentially do a credit towards them. Certainly if staff made an error and it did take longer, that's maybe not on that property owner, but perhaps they're, instead of doing it or issuing the 100% at that time, perhaps a credit could be applied, and we'd bring that to the commission.
Chair.
Yes.
Give me an example of a procedural error.
So for instance, on this one, the legal description was about an entire page long, and it's an old document. So we did our due diligence as best we could. That's probably my only concern with this one. We double checked the deed on this one. But again, if there was one word off, I don't know if that would be a rejection. That'd be an example potentially.
But is that necessarily a staff error, or, I mean, is it your job as staff to do a deed research and all that, or should it necessarily, I mean, in my experience, if I have a deed issue, it's on me to present somebody with my homework and then go from there. So is this procedurally something the city does for everybody trying to annex?
We do request it from the applicant, so we could make it that it's on them to double check that they provide us with an accurate one, but certainly from a staff perspective, we're trying to do our due diligence as well.
Sure, and I appreciate that and understand that, but it also, at the same time, I'm not sure that's a mistake that you're making. It doesn't sound, I mean, like, if we ever get into any right-of-way stuff with the NPC property, it'll take a year to figure that out, because I've had it 6 years and I still can't figure out what my boundaries are. There's so many issues. So I don't necessarily think that's a staff error. I mean, I appreciate the way you're thinking and looking at it, but I don't, there again, it just seems like you're complicating. And I want to take care of Chris and I want to take care of everybody, but firm, fair, and consistent is how I try to do things.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
I would make the motion to approve, or let me see how I want to phrase it. I want to make a motion to continue with the 200% billing until final approval has been made by the state. And I would recommend that we could give credit to the first of the month in which the approval was made, as at least a showing of support or a showing of the ability to work with them. That would be nice.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Is this gonna be policy then? Moving forward, I mean, can this just be policy as well, so we're not talking about it? Do we need to amend the motion to make it so it's just this is standard across the board, or so that we don't have to talk about this?
Yes, and I would make the recommendation to amend my motion to make the recommendation to become policy, or if we can add it into our policy.
And I would second that.
Thank you.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Good point, Mike.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I think it is the policy already. That's why it's here, to see if we can deviate from the policy. But it doesn't matter.
The only change would be the credit, the credit to the first of the month. That would be the only change in the policy.
All right.
Danny, did you have something? No? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, James. All right, so then we'll jump back to the Personnel Committee. We did have a meeting last week, and with our Personnel Committee, what we've been doing is Dolly and myself have been meeting with Charlie, Danny, and Trent. We've also had meetings with Nick and Chris, which have been helpful also. And so this month, however, what we talked about was just, where are we at from a staffing perspective? Just asking the question about referencing the organizational chart that is the city of Brainerd. And so we took a look at the Brainerd Public Utilities portion of that And we just took a look at open positions. We took a look at the organization, had general big picture conversations regarding where we're going, how are we doing operationally, what are our needs. Identified things such as succession planning and so forth. And so what I had requested for today was for the organizational chart to be included within the packet because it's a nice representation of the nice job that BPU staff does. Taking a look at our operations, taking a look at the different positions, how we do what we do. And so I had just asked as part of today's meeting for Trent and others, whoever wanted to speak to this, where are we at? It'd be great for the entire commission, not just the personnel committee, to listen to what you all have to say, what we need to consider moving forward, and just, how we can communicate our needs to the city administrator, with Chris, with the council, and others. So Trent, if you could, please give us an update.
Certainly, thank you. I think the last part of your topic there was really the process, or what the process will be. As you can see, we have some vacancies in our organizational chart. These vacancies have been here for quite some time now. These were all approved and blessed at one point. I don't remember the exact date, but it goes back a little while ago. Next steps, succession planning is a big deal for the utility. The world is sped up. It speeds up every day, like 10 years faster. So these positions that we have identified in the organizational chart are definitely needed. It will potentially change from what our organizational chart looks like if we backfill some of these positions with current staff. So as we look into the future, that's one of the questions that we have is how are we going to do succession planning? How are we preparing ourselves for 2026, 2027, and so on and so forth? And I think it's really the process. I think the biggest breakdown right now is conversations and just getting the conversations out on the table of where we're trying to get to. And we haven't developed job descriptions for some of these positions yet, not that I'm aware of anyways, and just an overall update on where we're at with filling this organizational chart.
Can you speak to the vacant positions, Trent?
As far as the electric supervisor, the maintenance service lead, the technical service lead.
Can you speak to, certain positions have been advertised, we've
Yes.
gotten some applicants,
Yeah.
just where are we at with all this, and what do those positions mean? And it's part of a strategic initiative for our city, for the Brainerd Public Utilities staff to, again, provide our services in the most efficient way. And so could you just speak to what the strategic initiatives are with these positions, how it's gone in terms of us advertising for those? So
Yeah.
if you could speak to that.
Certainly. We haven't been very successful with getting a lot of candidates for these positions. The electric supervisor, we went in-house on that one. We got one applicant. That one did not work out. We went out. We got a couple applicants. We only had one qualified applicant there. That position did not work out or fit our needs for our current outlook of where we think we're going. We haven't developed the technical service lead position yet on paper. That one's probably another one that's going to get internally posted before it goes outside. The challenges we see run into is we're not getting a lot of applicants for these positions. So why is that, I guess, is the question. And how do we find those answers out of why we're not getting those applicants?
As we discussed in our personnel meeting, though, all of these tasks that this person could do fall on BPU management at this point, correct? So, I mean, that's the idea, that's the strategic initiative behind this, is that it can free up time and dedicate a person that can manage our assets, correct?
Exactly, and it gives us an opportunity for succession planning, which, as you can see on our organizational chart right now, there isn't, none of that really jumps out at me. We have 3 lead positions currently underneath the operations manager that I'm absorbing all those roles right now. To manage a department this size, I need some more help, and we're just not getting good applicants, or I shouldn't say we're not getting good applicants, we're not getting very many applicants. And then some of the applicants that we're getting, maybe not meeting the qualifications that we're looking for.
I'm sure we're not alone with receiving a lot of applicants in the workforce these days, but what should we do then? This is a question, I guess, for anybody to weigh in on, but as far as, like you said, there's maybe not a job description yet for a tech services lead, so what's the process? What do we need to do there? Chris? And thank you.
So I was not aware that staff wanted to fill those positions. About a year ago, I had talked to Trent, and I thought that at that point, we didn't need those positions. So it is news to me that staff wanted those positions. But as far as a process, what we need to do is we would need to create job descriptions, and then we would have to negotiate the wage with the union. All of that is subject to council approval, of course, too.
Sure. So our next personnel meeting, we would like to meet collectively and identify those open positions and just talk about how we could create the job description then. Yes, Dolly?
I have one question. So by creating the job descriptions for maintenance supervisor lead and tech service lead, going through the wage scale, does that impact anybody that they're supervising? Anybody on?
Technically, it should. So when you create another supervisory level, it impacts hierarchy, and that is something that is supposed to affect points for anyone underneath those positions. So those things should have probably been finalized before we finalized our last union contract.
So much more in depth.
Correct.
Could you please tell me what specific positions you're looking at right now to be filled?
Currently on our organizational chart, we have a public utilities director open, electric supervisor open, a maintenance service lead open, a technical service lead open, hydro operator. We still have some conversations there. And then some of the actual, since the last time this was reviewed, some of those positions have been changed out and haven't been replaced. So a water service worker, we're short one there right now. Same with our hydro operations. There's conversations that happen there too with how we want to staff the hydro dam going into the future. Danny, is there anything on your side? The accountant one, I think.
I think a lot of what staff have been having conversations is we know there are some retirements that'll be coming in the next 5-10 years, and then how do we want to structure replacements or backfilling those positions is probably the main concern, and we want to bring those to the full commission and have that discussion as well. We've had those in the personnel committee discussions, and it was bringing essentially those to the attention of the full commission.
So the water service worker, that says one, but the request was not to backfill the position? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what's going on, water service worker. Postpone filling the position for a couple of months?
Yeah, so right now, currently what we had there is we had a transition from our water service worker is trying his hat in the technical service department as a meter locator.
Okay.
So he has 6 months to try that position. He can go back to his position as a water service worker if he does not like that job. So to not double up on that position, we decided to wait. That transition's going very well. I'm happy to say that this individual is filling that slot very well and is enjoying that work. So I don't think that he's going to go back, but contractually, he's got 6 months to make that decision.
Gotcha. And right
Correct,
now,
Chris?
oops.
90 days, thank you.
But as of right now, who's doing the work?
It's being absorbed by other
Others.
staff.
Okay, that's what I wondered. All right, thank you.
I think the takeaway today is just, I wanted to highlight, from a personnel side of things with our committee, we're wanting to reference a document that has been generated by the city of Brainerd, right? And we want to use this document as a way to communicate not only to the commission, but for the BP staff to utilize this, to keep our eyes on such things as succession planning and just our strategic initiatives. Also, it's a way for us to communicate with city administrator, HR director, and ultimately communicate our needs to the city council for consideration. Yes, Mike?
Is there a written process of, so Trent's operation manager, he has these 3 positions underneath of him that he wants to fill. Is there a written process somewhere of steps to do that?
Yes, we have a flow chart that shows exactly what should be done for all of our departments as far as if they want a new person or a new position. There is a flow chart how that should be working. Is that what your question was, Mike?
There's a flow chart
as far as how you started the process. You work with, the department head works with HR, we look at job descriptions, we look at wages, we then present it for approval, the job description, negotiate it, it shows.
Then it
everything.
goes out to Indeed or whatever, and then you
Right,
get
we take care
applicants,
of all
blah,
of
blah,
that
blah.
process, yep. I could send that floor chart out to the commission if you would like.
I'd like to see that.
Okay.
So I'm a little confused. I'm hearing Trent say we need to fill these positions. And I'm hearing you say that it's been a year and you didn't know that. Am I hearing both sides of that correctly? Okay, thank you.
So moving forward, then, Personnel Committee and staff will work with HR to get those job descriptions done and move forward from there. Is that the right procedure?
Yeah, and I'd like to have that just be a monthly meeting and, you know, we'll be all up to speed on what the needs are and hopefully expedite and streamline the process and be on the same page. So, yes, sir. Nick?
I just want to make a quick comment, and this is a general comment I think that applies to all departments. I mean, I certainly encourage every department leader should be creative and try to find ways that we can deliver the best services to the greatest number of people. So I encourage every director to think creatively. This flow chart that Chris is going to send out, I think the biggest takeaway is, you know, directors, somebody's going to have a light bulb idea. The next step after that light bulb goes up above your head is to give HR a call and just talk about how we navigate this process.
Thank you, Nick. Anybody else have any comments from a personnel side of things? No? Dolly? Okay. All right, thanks for making comments about it, having this available for today's meeting, and that's how we'll proceed moving forward. All right, move on to Finance, Operations Policy Committee.
We have nothing to report.
Nothing to report. All right. We'll move on to unfinished business. See attached separate memo regarding updates on unfinished business. There is a discussion item, item A. Anybody want to take that?
The memo is attached, as it has been in past meetings. If there's any comments, I guess I don't have any that aren't covered in other reports. So if anybody has any questions, we're willing to take any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Jeff.
could we reference, I think it's item, the water ordinance? I got it here. It is C, rewrite of Brainerd City Code, section 705 water system. That's been going on for over 2 years. Where are we at? What do we need to do? Who's got their hands on this? Is it at the attorney level? Where are we at with this? And when does it, who makes the final approval? Is it both the utility commission and council? How does this work? If somebody could help me with that.
It's a great question. Anybody want to comment on that? First of all, what that actually is, just as a reminder. And Charlie, you want to take that?
Yeah, we started this process, I want to say back in 2020. There, a very small amount of the code for 705, the drinking water. When it kind of touches all hands, the renditions now went to James, came back, and as far as I know, with the resignation of the utility director, it was on that platform. We can pick it back up and do our finals and get it moving again. I think that'd be recommended.
What is the section 705 specifically, just as a reminder for everybody? And
General rules that we, as a community or city water system, public water system, would require and enforce. So some of the general requirements needed to be hooked up to our water.
Could I, a question I have, does this have any, this is specific language regarding responsibility of the property owner, if I'm not mistaken. See, now it's the curb stop to the home, and wasn't there some discussion in the past about should it be from the home to the actual main? Was that not part of a discussion that we've had here at this level at one time? Or am I mistaken?
You are correct. That discussion was brought up to be similar to what the sanitary sewer system is from hookup to house to the main in the road versus the ownership from the curb stop to the house. I believe that was voted on and shot down, or discussion was not to go forward. I can look that up back.
Okay.
But that discussion was pertaining to the 705.
Well, maybe I can be more, what is the delay on getting this approved? And I know you said it should be brought up. Is there time sensitivity to this that we should know about in any way that you can see?
Personally, no. At this point, due to the fact there was no real ordinance or very directed ordinance for water connections, the need is there. We've been functioning as a commission pretty healthy with decisions, like one that with Dunn-Myers. So I think we have time on our side, but with the turnover, retirements, and of that director's position, it's kind of fallen on the wayside a little bit.
Okay, now you said this has been going on since 2020, and I see here it's last mentioned in June, I believe, of 23. So that's why I said a couple years, so it's actually been far longer than just a couple years. Is that correct?
Yeah, as soon as I went through, when I came on board and went through the ordinances that the city had in the 2 and the 705, some of that stuff needs to be squared away and put in for reference for all divisions. So it's one of those documents that not only commission, but also city staff sees also. And so it will encompass building inspections, it will encompass planning, it will encompass all of it. So it's a document that it looks at, not just looking up a specific policy or a way, if that makes any sense.
Thank you. I see this every meeting, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere, so that's why I asked. But thank you very much.
Mike?
Can somebody tell me why it got put on there in 2020? Like, what was the purpose of rewriting it? Is it to change the customer's responsibilities from the house to the curb stop versus house to the main, or what?
Really, it's a unity, so from one area to the next, it's the same. So there's no expectations other than the fact that it's a guidance for all staff within the city that have maybe something to do with a connection or the rights or what they can do. So we can talk about plumbing code, we can talk about all sorts of things, but it's a general guidance that is a document for the general rule of government staff.
So I had a similar question. So if it's a new project, you need to bring in a new water service to a property or upsize it or whatever. This would include Public Works Director, staff, I'm assuming. So you would generate a drawing, submit it to the state. Dolly's going to review it, or Darren would review it internally here.
Right.
And then is it a matter of who's on site inspecting that work, or what's required of a contractor to submit documentation that's been done correctly? Is it city staff or BPU staff? Is that what we're talking about? Just clarifying roles, responsibilities?
So we take the government body as a whole,
Yep.
not just one division of, but also it's a document that governs in the code, kind of the direction, so everybody's clear on expectations of the water system. So if it is from the curb stop to the home that the homeowner is, responsible for, there's clarity there throughout all divisions. If they need to replace that, they don't call City Hall, and City Hall says, well, I'll go to commission, and commission, then we have to vote on it, we're gonna pay for it, type of situation. So it's a general rule governing all city staff within their positions to do the same.
How are we operating now with no, there's been a lot of water line, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of work's been done, so how is it going now?
I think, like I said, I think we have time, because there's a lot of communication between everybody. So I don't think there's anything. One mishap that we talked about was Dunn-Myers, right? So they're outside, we get a contractor, we get a call that there's diggers out there, and that gotta stop, right? Where is that line drawn in the sand? We also had one over on the Riverside booster.
Yeah.
Again, where does that stop? Who's doing the direction and where's the direction going? So it's one of them type of.
So what I'm hearing is there's no real written process for what happens when and where. Is that?
Yep, you bet.
Yeah, Trent.
So in the 705 currently right now, the only thing it speaks to is water lines on private property, which is the ownership that Mr. Chesak brought up earlier, and repairs to a water service line, to where if a service line is leaking in the street or could deem dangerous or cause damage to other people's properties, we have the right to shut that line off and make those repairs within 24 hours and bill that customer to protect other people's properties. That's all that's in the 705. That's all it's ever been in the 705 for decades. BPU has policy written, but it came up a few years back, probably around that 2000 timeframe or 2020 timeframe, that the policy was not actually codified in city code, so it needed to be codified in city code. So BPU has policies to address all these. They're just not codified, and they're just not on the 705. Through that process, and the couple of the directors have worked on that, just hasn't got cradle to grave yet.
So the processes are written, they're just not brought into the code, city code yet?
Correct. BPU has a service installation guide and all that stuff. It's just not reflected in the code.
Can you send me that?
Yeah.
Is that something we would work with you, Mike, with to ultimately get it completed?
A lot of these process we discuss in our coordination meeting, and we are even fine tuning that process and this, as far as even just pre-design work. We're all at the table, 30% plans, 60% plans, and we just check that box once everyone is done. We caught one thing, it was last month, we had a project that was still in punch list. I got the final bill. I typically just pay it, but I caught that. Thanks, Standy, for the communication, and we stopped that payment until punch list is done. So we're working on our communication. It's getting better every month. And like you indicated, Mr. Higgins, it's a process. Everything is dials down to, it's really words on paper, like Nick likes to indicate. And that really governs all of what we do, words on paper. But we're getting there.
Do you want Trent to send that information to you, or do you have a copy of that
I don't,
already?
so yes, please.
Okay, perfect.
I have a
Yeah, Dolly.
I just want to go down my list. And I'm not putting anybody on the spot. I know you probably know this offhand. Hydro, percentage of hydro that's generated, the power that's generated, what is it servicing? With taking crypto out, at one point, we knew it was servicing about 11% of the city's needs, the hydro was, and solar. Do we have kind of a breakdown of that a little bit?
Yeah, so right now we're doing about, it depends how you want to break it down into our rate classes. You break it down into residential rate classes. If you say how many homes is the hydro dam serving, it's about 17%. You add our commercial customers in there, excluding crypto, but just our large industrial loads, they consume a lot more electricity. So that one home versus a large manufacturer doesn't tit for tat on those calculations. But, so if you would say residential homes, I would say about 17%.
Okay.
Of our total load, it's going to be less than that, probably closer to 9% on our total load.
Okay.
And this is changing with the temperatures, and monthly it changes water flows and temperatures of what we see for loading. So we could definitely bring that back if that's something you're interested in. I'd be
Well,
happy
and
to
then
add it
solar,
to my report.
and the reason I'm asking is because I'm gonna go back to item B, and I just wanna get my feelers on this, where we talk about where we are obligated to be, 100% green by 2040. What are the ramifications if we're not? What are we servicing right now, taking crypto out of it? But the common thread, now Danny's got a lot of financials in here, the common thread is the burden is put on us to go green by 2040, but over half of the burden right now is crypto. And my question, well, I'm just not, hear me out for a second, a large part of it, let's just say a good part of the energy usage is coming from crypto. So my question is, I would like to know if, as we move forward, are we billing appropriately? And then, just as a kind of a threshold as we move forward, I just want to make sure, and then I'm going to jump down to, and that's just a general comment. I'm not looking for answers. I just, maybe just something to kind of keep an eye on. And then, just wanted to go off of the block metrics, and I know we're probably going to talk about that if we have any response yet from them. Yeah.
Can I
let's
take, can I
start
take the
with-
first one really quick? So in our contract with all of our curtailable loads, they're 100% required to provide all renewables. They are not putting any impact on our renewables for the city of Brainerd. Contractually, they have to procure those renewables. So that in this current contract with our crypto miners right now, that is not a concern. As far as reaching out in the future, the only thing that we are taking on it now is market risk. If we wait until the end of this, we'll have to buy it off the grid, and that price is unknown to us on the grid. So if we build assets behind the meter or locally, we have that asset in hand, we know what that value is. Otherwise, it's really just market risk when you get close to those deadlines and those mandates.
But then if we go back to, and staying on B then, if we go back to, our gauge of where we are for renewables, how far off are we on hitting that mark anyway of being 100%? I guess we just kind of have to always just keep an eye on that, right? So it would be kind of nice to just keep a gauge going, even a chart. I love charts, right? But then again, what are the ramifications? We still don't know that, right? I mean, I know not every city is going to be
It's
able to
market
meet
risk.
those.
So if we don't do a project and it gets a roll of the dice, so you could do a project now and play X, and in 10 years, it might have been cheaper to not do that project. Or you do the project today and it's cheaper than your market risk you're taking on in 2040. So we don't know what that cost is gonna be of that electricity then. We know what a cost of a project would be if we built one today, and we'd be able to amortize that out over a 30-year fixed contract.
Presently, our RECs that we're purchasing through AEP is covering the deficit from the renewables we're producing
Okay.
now to the requirement.
All right, well, that's good. And then block metrics, you were gonna,
Block Metric, we couldn't schedule a meeting with them prior to get it out to the commission packet. We are scheduled to speak with them later today.
they have an agreement from us already that they've had now for a while?
Correct.
All I have.
Okay, anybody else have anything for old business? Good. All right, we'll move on to new business, discussion on Dropbox's use. Let's take that.
I can take that.
Okay.
So staff have been looking at, so each daily, staff are going throughout town, picking up at our Dropbox locations, the utility bills that customers are putting in the Dropboxes. We're seeing, since COVID, a reduction in the use of those Dropboxes, and wanted to bring a discussion to commission to discuss maybe options on, do we want to maybe reduce the number of Dropboxes? Do we want to reduce the daily pickups? What would commission like to see? We've done some research and found that other municipalities are going away from having Dropbox locations. So we looked at 13 different municipalities and found that only 3 have Dropbox locations that are beyond just at their main office. And we wanted to bring it to the attention of commission and ask what, if any, changes we'd want to make on our daily processes.
How often are they picking these up? Every day?
Currently, every day. And with the information's there, I mean, we're seeing between 2 and 4 items a day in those drop boxes.
First of all, the senior center and the food co-op, aren't they across the street from each other? Where's the food co-op?
Downtown.
Food cups. 2 blocks from here.
Across the street from Downtown.
Oh,
Date there, buddy.
yeah, I guess so.
How many customers do we have?
9,000.
So you're saying that we had 230 in a month?
Correct.
I'd say end it.
The only thing, I agree with Mike, I think they could be shut down, but I think we need to put signage on them for a couple of months before we did that.
See, and I'm of the notion that we have a walkable community and that I think we should, before we just end it, I think we should at least try a biweekly or just before, the 8th or the 9th, just before the billing is actually due, or the 1st. That we at least try that. Otherwise, I mean, I will say, I was one of those Cub Food people when I lived over in Northeast. I always dropped it there. It just made sense. But, I mean, I'm not in favor of just ending it without trying something different first, and I think daily is excessive. I think that's very time consuming. Weekly might even be excessive, but monthly, I just think for 200 people, that's not servicing them very well either in a somewhat walkable community. That's just my feeling. And you didn't mention how many are dropped off at the service center.
I wouldn't recommend removing that one.
No,
'cause
no, I
after
wouldn't,
hours, so
but I'm just
there's quite a few more, but it's not.
Okay.
Actually, I have that number with me.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this can be answered, but there are a few ways of paying your bill. Do people, are they aware that they can just have it drawn off their savings account or credit checking account? I wonder if people that are writing out a check, putting it in a Dropbox, know there's an alternative. Because why would you even go through the problem of finding the Dropbox or writing out a check if it can be taken right from your savings account or your checking account? It's through our accounting department here at the utilities. I'm just, is that something we advertise in our statements we send out, that there are the alternatives that are available? I know credit card, that of course we dealt with out now for a year and a half, but I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Jana, do you have an answer?
Our return envelopes in our billings, I'll note that, right, when they're making the payment, that we do have those options. And we do put that in our newsletter occasionally, bill comments, we'll put it on there, so I think we're putting it out there.
Chair?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I mean, at the end of the day, you start going to a 2-week pickup and somebody pays their bill late and they shut their power off and they're gonna say, I paid it. And it's gonna create room for an argument and unneeded drama. And to go back to the last thing we talked about, saving energy and getting to no carbon, blah, 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 everything we can do to eliminate stuff like this helps that in the long run. And I understand, Dahlia, some people, I'm an old school check guy. I get it. I mean, but in my world today, I've had to go to try to automate everything to save man hours, to save drive time, to save wear and tear on vehicles. I mean, it's just, the world's changing, and I don't like the way the world's changing, but it is. And anything we can do to eliminate stuff like this, it helps with the org chart. It helps save money. It helps save time. It helps man hours to do other things that our city really needs, like infrastructure and waste treatment plants and water treatment plants. So I hear you and understand what you're saying, but I also, we need to simplify and minimize things for our staff.
Just
my opinion.
one question, because I'm on auto withdrawal, and so I know I don't get it. Do we still provide return envelopes? We do. See, that's pretty expensive. Okay.
It does pull out the ones though that are set for bank pays.
Right.
The machine knows.
That's why I had to ask a question, because I don't get one, so it's curious. All right, thanks.
Okay, are staff looking for a motion on this in direction? Yeah? Anybody have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we eliminate the drop boxes.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
I'll second it, but as of when?
I make a motion that we eliminate the drop boxes in 90 days, give our customers time to make an adjustment.
Put signage on
And
this.
put signage on it and put it on our website, advertise it.
Okay, second.
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
One last thing on those that you're gonna put it in the flyer, the information. I'm just wondering if never mind, I'll ask you later. I'm just thinking on the return envelopes about the 90-day thing for Dropbox. Maybe that might catch their attention. A lot of people just throw that, sadly, they just throw that extra information away and just grab the bill, so, okay.
Yep, good comment. All right, approve hydrant maintenance agreement. Danny. Trent.
Sorry, thank you.
Staff's identified several locations in our service territories, 76 to be exact, right, from a 1,000-foot view of hydrants that have been expanded into properties that maybe weren't part of a street project or part of a new service. These buildings have been maybe retrofitted or they've changed their operational capacity at these facilities where they've had to bring in a hydrant or some of these needs. As we go through and do our distribution, maintenance, and flushing of the hydrants, there's not a lot of documentation from previous agreements on whose ownership this is. So staff took the initiative to put this draft together to start working towards knocking off those 76 individual hydrants so we understand full ownership and that they are getting proper maintenance done to them. We were able to use one of the trailer parks in town as an example. We worked with them side by side to kind of mature this document. And so we're kind of just looking for feedback from the commission today, if this is something you like, if you want us to tweak it a little bit, or something to move forward. You'll also see attached, I don't know if we can scroll down on here, but attached will be the map of the actual property. So going forward, it's historical documentation. There's a map indicating ownership of the hydrants, the properties, the lines, the valves. So hopefully we can put this to bed going forward into future agreements that this is a little easier to uncover into the future. A lot of these services were put in, 50, 60 years ago, and there wasn't documentation on it. So we're trying to make that right today.
Trent, this example, so there's no easement, no legal document that identifies clear ownership of the private water line versus city-owned and all that?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't own those hydrants that are within this area, correct?
Yeah, so the challenge that it comes into is it's our public water system, right? So anybody that's taking water from the public water system needs to make sure they're doing maintenance on their stuff. So if you have to install a hydrant for your building for fire protection, that's not necessarily falling underneath our public water system because we don't know you're adding that hydrant in because you're doing it on your own side of your plumbing because a commercial account will own all of their own plumbing. So then you fast forward to 25, 30 years and our guys are out doing hydrant maintenance, and whose hydrant is this? And so that documentation doesn't exist today. This would be an attempt to start really with these first 76, and then I'm sure this list will continue to grow, but then moving forward, they'll be documented. They'll be signed by the property owner and by BPU to say this is what gospel is as of today.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Jeff?
I read the document, I'm not sure if I recall, but do the property owners have any do they have any, can they just say, no, we're not gonna participate?
They certainly could, and then the second part of that would be that BPU will supply them with proper maintenance, and they have to continue to do records and supply us with records of annual maintenance to that hydrant if they want it to be connected to the public water system.
Thank you.
So this is just a question in general. So I've worked on a project where due to the size of the building and the fire lane and the distance with fire hydrants, in most municipalities, it's a easement. Is that how we're operating today on larger commercial projects where we're identifying an easement? It's a public line going through property and then there's just no question.
Great question. So this goes back to our earlier conversations. On a commercial water line, it's 100% owned by the commercial property owner from the water main in. So if they have hydrants tied to that service line, we got to make sure that the services are being done correctly to them for a couple of reasons. So when the fire department shows up to them, they are maintained and they are operating as need be, but so we can also protect our public water system. That's a commercial line that is owned by the commercial customer in a lot of these instances. It boils down to we don't have that documentation over the long historical distribution system that we have, and this is the beginning of starting to put that documentation together. So there wouldn't necessarily be easements. What you see up here in the map right now, that pink is all private. They own all of that. Those hydrants that in the middle, obviously, our fire department would use to put a fire out in the middle of the trailer park if there was one. If nobody's doing maintenance on them and they're not operable, that's not good for anybody. So this is really our attempt to make sure that all of that is going well and all the hydrants that BPU has purview over is getting maintenance done to it. We want to make sure the ones that are not are known by the homeowner or the customer that those are their hydrants and their responsibility to do the maintenance on. This would allow them to contract BPU out to do that maintenance for them, to check that box for them. If they choose not to do that and they want to do it in-house, that's fine. We'll provide the documentation and require them to submit that documentation back to us annually so we are aware of the status of those hydrants. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, go ahead, Danny.
We have looked at other communities. They have something very similar. This was reviewed by the legal team and determined. I guess the one question they had is, it would be, want to have a cost of inflation adjustment on the $100 per hydrant per year. We had, this customer in particular reached out and said this is something they were looking for and requesting and wanted us to take on.
Any other questions?
Yeah, say you come out and I'm giving you $100 a year per hydrant, and there's something wrong with the fire hydrant. Then what?
Then we bill you. It's in the contract right now, but there'd be time and material, so we would give you an estimate what it would take BPU to do those repairs for you. So if we were replacing some of the parts inside of the hydrant, time and material, you could choose at that point to hire your own contractor to do that work. That'd be fine. We just want to make sure to check the box that this hydrant did have the maintenance done in 2025, and we're moving forward with that appropriate maintenance to those hydrants.
Thank you.
Just keep the microphone on. Going off of that note, because I know it said nothing will be performed unless you've got written approval. So let's say that they did want to fix it on their own. You said they had to show proof. What are the ramifications if they're not showing proof that the work is being done annually and or it's not to BPU standards?
So it's tied to the public water system. This is where some of these challenges on these projects come into play. They have metering pits on both north and south side of this project, so it's being metered, and that's really where the public water supply starts, is from their metering in. But since they had to get these distribution lines in there, that's how they got there. So this goes back to, I'm not sure exactly when this was established. I think this trailer park came in the 40s or 50s. None of this documentation was done at that time. We can't find any of that documentation. So this is just our attempt to get something on paper moving forward. This project would not look the same today if this was going under a 2025 project. It wouldn't label like this.
This is a question in general, but on larger commercial projects, for example, the one up north that's going on right now, is it the preference of Public Works or, you know, us as a community to have water mains going through property, have an easement to where the city owns that so we can maintain it and operate it? Is that a preference versus having private lines like this and having private hydrants and then we're under contract to maintain a hydrant? I'm just asking the question just in general. I mean, is it open to a private owner, a private developer to?
Yeah, just like Country Manor.
Yeah.
They wanted that private, and it's really, personally, I like it to be in the municipality because it's ours. We need to maintain that. It's ours, but here it's really with Charlie and Trent, and their preference is what we'll support.
Currently, the Country Manor project right now is being developed as a private project, but it will get turned over to the city, so that will become a municipality water system completion of their project.
Northtown, I think, was developed the same way.
Correct.
Is it a easement? It is a public infrastructure then?
Yes,
at the end
it
of the
will
day?
be,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I was just curious. Okay. All right. So we need a motion to approve this then? And we have a motion?
Before there's a motion, are we going to consider this every year, or do we consider cost of inflation in the motion if we did move forward with it? Do you know what I mean? At $100 per hydrant? Is it a 3% cost of inflation annually? Or is this just come back every year with the rest of the fees that we normally do annually, you're thinking? Yeah. Review it annually, okay.
And then one other thing, under miscellaneous, it says inure. I don't think that's a word, so I don't fix that.
On the contract?
On the contract.
Maybe it's supposed to say manure.
Legal has reviewed it.
Not surprising.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion?
Could I ask what the motion is exactly?
To approve moving forward with this agreement.
And then come back annually for the, okay. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, we'll move into staff reports. City Administrator, Mr. Broyles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My written report is attached. Additionally, I just want to thank the commission for your contribution, first your attendance and your contribution to last night's joint meeting with the City Council. I think it was very fruitful. Staff received some good feedback. We'll be working with the city attorney to draft up a resolution in accordance with direction we received last night, and we're hoping to get that on the August 4th City Council agenda. But again, thank you for your attendance and for your contribution. I do appreciate it. Nothing further.
Any questions for the City Administrator? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Oh, I do, one question. What is, under community development billing official, and maybe you can, what are the enforcement areas as frequented by visitors and residents? What are the enforcement areas? And I know it's not technically your report, but I thought maybe you might know.
The intent from the City Council, we've historically just had passive code enforcement. So when we would receive a call, then we would investigate. City Council has, based on some feedback from the public, they've directed staff along the corridors, the areas that are frequented by visitors, residents within a certain distance of parks, Washington Street, South 6th, those types of areas we're going to be doing more active code enforcement.
High visibility areas.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I thought maybe there was a map drawn out or something, but it's just the high visibility areas. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, City Council Liaison Report, Mr. Chazad.
Thank you. I would like to say thanks to the commission as well for attending last night and the discussion. There's, I don't know if all of you are aware, but there's, the Country Manor was brought up, and there was some issues with the service lines not being where they're supposed to be, so we had a conversation at our meeting last Monday, and we're asking the work to be completed. It's additional work than what was essentially bid on by the private contractor, and it looks as if they're maybe leaning towards paying that, but I want to make sure that whatever the city does cover, that we separate out water service and sanitary sewer service, which are going to be connected, proportionately to what the cost is. I don't know if there's going to be a split shared cost for because water's utilities and of course sanitary is a city. So I want to make sure that I'm just letting you know. I am going to hopefully put that on the agenda for Monday's meeting to have a discussion and get the council to either make a decision or not on how we separate those costs out if and when we do decide to pay and how much. So just wanted to mention that to you moving forward. Not sure when that will be completed as far as they have to dig fairly deep. It's close to 30 feet, so there's more cost there than they anticipated. But and then of course the action we took last night, I know Mark, you weren't there. What we did decide on is having a staff come back with a interpretation of the charter language specific to, I believe, item number 4. So Mike, was that the correct one?
Yep.
Yeah. And then, so as a council, we have the authority to make how we interpret that language. Unless it's absurdly interpreted, I think we're safe doing that. But that'll be coming back. I don't know if the staff will have it back for Monday's meeting or the following meeting, but looking forward to seeing what they bring back, and then I think we'll have a vote on that. But that's all I have for right now, so thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Trent.
Just want to make sure we're not missing an action item there. BPU staff, is clarification on which staff's drafting that. Is that something that you're taking care of? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, are you asking me that question?
I'm sorry, Chris nodded to me, so Ms. Schubert's going to take care of that part of it. We weren't sure if, when we said staff, if it was something that we were drafting or if Chris was drafting it, so.
My
Sorry
preference
about the
would be
nod,
that, I mean, if there's some, I mean, I can't see anything wrong with throwing out your opinion on what the clarification or interpretation would have been based on the discussion that was heard, but I mean, I'm fully capable of saying, here's how I interpret it to Nick or Chris or whomever, but again, it'll be voted on eventually, and so whether it passes or not is yet to be seen, so, yeah.
Okay, Jeff, one question for you. When you're talking about the additional work for the utilities and splitting the cost, what are you referring to?
Okay, so if we have a water line and a sanitary sewer line, they come out of different funds, obviously. I want to make sure that it's split proportionately for the work. If we're going 7 or 8 feet deep for a water line, and say there's the same length of pipe, I want to make sure that the city, whatever we pay for, if any at all, that we're proportionately applying that according to the work that's done. So if sanitary sewer is 25 or 30 feet deep and our water, it's obviously going to cost more to go that deep. And I'm not interested in saying, okay, let's just split it, because that's not fair to our water funds if they're picking up a significant portion of the cost to get down to the sanitary sewer line. So I'll be seeing if we can have that conversation at a upcoming council meeting, because my understanding is they're not going to start that actual construction or digging, at least until sometime in August. Isn't that correct? Middle of August?
Should be completed by the end of August
Okay.
is,
So if they were to start on the 14th, that would indicate it's not going to take them a lengthy period of time to do that work. So we should have the answer to that fairly soon, so.
Trent, have you gotten a more specific date?
No, I think your timeline's accurate to what I've heard so far.
Right.
What is the discrepancy? What's the change that happened
The
that's
water
gonna be
lines-
extra money?
The water lines are not where the developer, with the information we gave the developer was not accurate.
Oh,
And so we
okay.
did it.
Got it. Question answered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Jeff? All right, HR Director report, Chris.
Nothing in addition to my written report.
Okay, anybody have questions for Chris at all, HR Director? Okay, if not, moving on to Finance Manager report. Danny.
Thank you. There was a lot in the report this month. We had March, April, and May financial statements. June are in process. A couple things I wanted to bring to Commission's attention as we're having budget discussions and looking for 2026. There'll be some meetings that the Finance Committee will be having to have, and we'll have to have some discussion on making some maybe harder decisions on the upcoming budget. What we're seeing this year, so typically in our first quarter, we have lower revenues than budget typically, and that stays until about the end of second quarter. What we're seeing this year is that second quarter we're not having that recoup of the revenues like we normally see. And we're going to have some discussions around that. Now, with that said, June 1st started our increase in some of those rates. So we should be seeing that catch up, and we'll have to determine how that affects going forward. But we're at a deficit in revenue right now, showing with May's financial statements about 1.3 million under budget. Our expenses are staying flat. So comparative to last year, we're showing a loss then for the month of May at this point. Mr. Higgins.
Traditionally, do you see better revenue in the second half of the year than the first half, or?
Traditionally, it's catching up over the two middle quarters of the year. We have seen less revenues in the first quarter of every year, with the last two winters being milder. So we're not selling as much electric heat, but we're also seeing a mild summer. I'm anticipating we're not seeing the AC use as we normally do either.
I would disagree with that.
I would disagree on that.
Thank you.
So with that, what we're seeing then also in inflation in our construction costs and infrastructure's going up. That's having a significant impact. With the upcoming 210 project, the reclamation tank project, and all of those items are going to be hitting in the same years, and we're going to have some bonding challenges I'm anticipating at this point. But wanted to bring that to Commission's attention as we look to the 26 budget as we're coming forward. So we'll be scheduling some meetings.
Danny, in your opinion, what do we need to be doing moving forward to, if it's just to getting more clarity on specific dollar amounts associated with projects, or just even, you're saying our expenses are staying flat, but what are the variables out there that we need to do
I think
more proactive, I guess, of tracking?
so fair. I would say our operational expenses are staying flat. Where we're seeing the increase in costs is just the infrastructure projects. We're seeing, Mike, a 30% increase in some of our costs. We look at the reclamation tank. We had that budgeted around 6 million. The bids for those came in at 13.5. So it's a lot of the capital projects where we're seeing those increases. So having, as Mike kind of indicated earlier in our coordination meetings, we're discussing the scopes of those projects sooner. So that'll help as we move forward. Some of those we'll see that'll be of big help, especially when it comes to bonding and identifying those projects. We're going to need to have to make some decisions on maybe a project doesn't happen. We have a lot of needs in all of the divisions, and we're going to have to make some of those hard decisions on maybe this project has to be pushed out a couple of years, those types of things. I see those types of decisions having to come.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Mr. Chesak.
I see your memo here, Danny, and at the end of it, it talks about the primary drivers of the concerns, Highway 210 project, lead service line replacement, upcoming street improvements, and water reclamation. So you mentioned one. So on our upcoming street improvement, are there currently ones we're doing this year? Is that when you say upcoming, or I mean, do you see some overruns in those right now? And I guess you'd be specific, is it just water that's overrun? Does that mean it didn't budget enough for it, or what? What would you?
I would, there's some items in the water infrastructure where we're showing those additional costs that weren't budgeted. So for one project that I know particularly is the Ron and Joseph Alley project. I think our budget for that was $140,000, but I think that's going to come in $500,000 more than that.
It's going to come in, you figure 500,000 more than?
Correct.
So, I mean, we got a bid on the project, did we not? That is not correct, Joseph, the alley?
Trent.
There's a little more history to this one. The commission requested staff back before this project started to go out and procure bids for it. We did. We got bids from SCH. I guess then it went from there. We had those numbers. The city staff then reran the numbers and gave us their project estimate number. That's the one the commission decided to use for budgeting. SCH was close.
So the SCH estimate from a design standpoint was higher.
Yeah, it was the tune of $600,000, $700,000, and these engineering estimates came in at $150,000 from the city's budget perspective.
So a different scope potentially is what happened there? I don't know.
So then based on the contract being, the contract's awarded for that, correct?
Correct.
So that being said, we have a cost, essentially a quasi-fixed cost. Do you see potential change order coming in, or is the utility our utility department doing that water line work, or is that up to is that paid for, or is that work being done by the contractor that got this work? How does that work? Who's doing the water line on this particular project?
The work has been bid,
Okay.
so at the higher cost.
Oh, it is at the higher cost?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was missing.
So it's the right scope of the project that we believe needs to be done as staff.
Okay.
It's not on the budget for that amount of money. It will be bonded.
Okay. So there was a discrepancy between what we here at utilities suggested it should be put out at in the engineering department or public works department.
Or the final estimates, yes. At the final bid, yep.
Okay. So now that causes an overrun on our budget.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so from a finance standpoint, obviously, the finance committee, there'll be in-depth discussions about just the current state of where we're at and the $1.3 million deficit, obviously, of what was budgeted and.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand how that happens. So how does commission approve the scope of work at 100 plus thousand, but an engineering firm comes in $500,000 more? How does it not come back for discussion and moving forward? Because it's coming out of the budget. Did it never come back? Did we not know this until it got awarded?
Trent?
BPU staff brought this as the $700,000 project that we thought was appropriate and accurate for pricing. When we got the other estimates back from the engineering firm, or from the city, it was quite a bit less, around 150,000. Commission just chose to use their number instead of staff's number. That's where we are at today.
How did we make that choice? I don't remember doing that.
It was during the budget process.
So it was in the budget, and we approved the budget, but no one asked the question because this is the first I've heard of it.
This stems back to conversations of who's doing engineering for BPU water infrastructure. So typically right now, the city does that engineering. This year they've let some of that out to other firms to also do the engineering. So we have quite a few engineers working on this projects right now that we have. BPU will sit on the scoping meetings on the front end, but then the projects happen and we get a bill at the end of the year. So there's definitely some mechanisms there that we could probably streamline our financial output or inputs. We know where we're going into these if we get a little more involved on the engineering side and the cost impacts that'll show us. We had numbers for, and please don't quote me, but around $700,000. That's what we estimated. Staff agreed that that was a good number. We budgeted $150 for this project.
We have had conversations in our coordination meetings to remedy this going forward.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So based on you mentioning, Danny, the Highway 210 project, that starts next year. Have we squared away, have we identified, I mean, these numbers have been talked about, I'm sure, with the MnDOT and our engineering department. Is there discrepancies there too of what the utility department is telling or talking about regarding the costs compared to what MnDOT or city engineers are talking about?
I do not see any discrepancies in those numbers. The challenge is the magnitude of the number. So it's a $5 million project for the water side. So we're still working on getting bonding, getting funding opportunities. That's the challenge. So cash flowing this project of $5 million is going to be the challenge.
Thank you.
What projects what have we prioritized internally, just thinking ahead from a budgeting standpoint, what's dropped in priority, would you say, just based on our current financial standing and anticipating the 210 project?
Nothing at this time. Staff's continuing to do maintenance and operate as we can. It's really these final invoices when they come in on these projects won't be realized till the end of the year when we get billed for them. So as of right now, it's not really slowing down operational stuff for us. We're continuing to move forward as we always would. It'll be at the back end when it's time to, when we get invoiced for these projects.
Yeah, just, I guess, looking forward though is prioritizing like just the larger capital projects, Danny, I think that you had mentioned before. So it's just going to delay the timing of those potentially just to see how this all shakes out.
Potentially, yes.
The challenges we run into is a capital projects on our water distribution system is going to impact all the roadways. So we're trying to align those with city's capital projects, so we're spending good money.
Sure.
And so trying to align all those needs and the space of those needs are what we're trying to work through right now. And I think we're making good traction through our coordination meetings to align with that, but we need the city's 10-year CIP to decide where we're going to go with water or to help put input on that 10-year CIP. So it's known that that pipe is 100 years old and we're putting a new road over it. We can't afford to do that pipe right now, or are we going to do the road is the question. So this is where the tires are literally going to hit the road on this. You know, if BPU has infrastructure that's 90 plus years old and we're going to do a road project over it, hoping that that road's going to last 30 more years, that's way outliving the life expectancy of that water pipe. So if projects happen on the roadside and we don't get to that, then the alternative is we just have to cut into that road if we have a problem. Hopefully, we can make it to 30 years and replace the pipe at that time, but once you start getting that long in age into that pipe, the reality of failures are there, and so now you're tearing up a brand-new road to make that repair. It's a challenge, and there's not a right or wrong answer, in my opinion, on how to approach that. It's just a challenge of where do you get there? Old infrastructure.
Okay, Danny, any other items? Okay, any other questions for Danny? Okay, operations manager report?
Nothing to add to my written report. I guess, do you want to touch on climate vision? So Friday after the packet went out, working with the state of Minnesota and Climate Vision for our water tower project at the state hospital for our weather radar dome. I did get a draft back from the state of Minnesota for that project for us. It'll be reviewed next week by our consultant and by Climate Vision. Some of the things we're running into is we got a short turnaround potentially of September, I believe was in there. I think we can modify that date with the state to get that pushed out a little farther, but we are making some traction with the state on that piece. So the next commission meeting, I think that we'll be able to bring that to you, and then hopefully a good red line contract with Climate Vision to see if we can get this project done this year yet. Other than that, nothing else to add from my written report.
Any questions for Trent? Okay, thanks, Trent. Charlie, water wastewater management report.
Nothing new to add.
Is Baxter buying some water from us?
Yes, in the month of, I actually put it on here for you. In the month of, under June 2025 water production and pumping, Baxter's water total for the month of June was 578,000 gallons.
Oh, I did have one question. Currently, there are 810,000 gallons in storage. What is our capacity in that storage again? I can't remember.
Big storage is 1.2, small storage is 3.2.
So we're getting really close to maxing out on our storage. Are we?
Yeah, we're really late. So this is not the most, it's not the best position to be in.
No. But it was because it's wet and there's
Wet,
no cutting?
we had a breakdown, go figure, shortly after I called to see how everything was going. After I hung up, the tractor laid over. So that took us out for a week and a half, and now the rain, another 2 weeks, which when we look at farming, if anybody knows anything about farming and application, we're kind of backs against the wall right now. That's about all I can add.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt, did I?
No.
Okay, I just got a question for Charlie. Now, my understanding is that we have to test everything regarding what goes, say, on the fields, the biosolids and all that. And you got to meet certain parameters or else we're not allowed to do that. And if we're not allowed to do that, we're going to have some super high costs to find an alternative as to putting it on the certain fields we go out on, right? And so when you test that, for the, you want to, are we meeting the parameters of everything that's, to keep moving forward with that on the biosolids that we distribute?
Yeah, with all of the work and the new regulations that kind of came down on land application of liquid biosolids, we are way low in some of these in tier 2 categories. We have direct reduction acts going in and sampling of trying to control users and to educate the public on the uses and some of these products have. Nutrient-wise, it's absolutely, and organic-wise, absolutely a benefit to put on to cropping land. But as things go forward, hopefully we reduce through public education and consumer use, that we can do much better in the future. It's one of those things. we're constantly having upgrades and looking at future. So recently for 2026, we got a very good number back. So how long before the agencies reduce these? I can't tell you that, but we should be looking for the future for alternatives.
So they can change kind of on, at any time depending what MPCA decides that?
Yep, EPA, MPCA, yes.
In the waste world, they call it moving the goalpost. You get,
Right.
you get everything set and working and you're within your parameters, and then the MPCA comes along and moves the goalpost. And then all of a sudden you're not in compliance, and then Charlie's scrambling to get back in compliance.
As Charlie's bulging eyes just,
Yeah, and I just want to, and again, looking at the future and looking at the cost of these constructions, and to do everything we can as staff to find ways and to offset and buy time. We've been doing that since I've started here. Staff deserves a huge kudos, and all departments within BPU, that they do a phenomenal job. They are so resourceful, and I want to make sure you guys understand that, from water production, distribution, treatment, power line, installation, and working as a real team to try to alleviate some of these shortfalls that we have in front of us and have behind us also. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that staff is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Any other questions for Charlie?
Yep.
All right, commission member reports. Mike?
I got a question. Can I ask a question here?
Certainly.
What do we do procedurally to start a conversation with council about getting the wastewater distribution lines separated back out and under the commission?
I can answer
Procedurally.
that. I'll see that it gets on an agenda. How's that?
Great, thank you. And the reason I bring that up is, to Charlie's point, it'd be nice for Charlie to be able to start educating and controlling what goes in our sanitary sewers, because that's, when I was in the compost business, that's what the MPCA was trying to do, was they were trying to get the PFAS and some of the solids out of the waste streams earlier before they went in there, versus only dealing with them when they got to Charlie's waste treatment plant. So to me, and I know I've said this, and I'm gonna keep saying it until we either decide one way or the other, but something needs to change in how we manage our waste streams. And anything we can do to manage them better is gonna help Charlie in the long run control costs and not run into issues. I mean, if we can't land apply that water, last time I checked, it ends up getting trucked down to Pig's Eye, or
Sites yet to have that discussion with, so unknown right now.
yeah. When I was in southern Minnesota and had to haul 1.2 million gallons out of a pond because it couldn't be land applied, I had to haul it to Pig's Eye. And it was, it ended what I was doing. Just one mistake. It wasn't out of my control, but, every time I hear Charlie talk about it, or I see his eyes get 2 inches in diameter, I get it. The hair stands up on the back of my neck because I went through that. So that's why I asked the question. I would like to see that get put on the agenda. Thanks. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mike. I think just as part of that, from the city council's perspective, what would be the right way to present that information, Jeff, in your opinion? And is that something that internally BPU staff and we put together pros and cons of what that scenario would look like? What do you think would be the best route to communicate that with city council?
Well, I think just having a discussion and then moving forward and maybe seeing if the council is one that just gives staff direction to your point. And then, I think we need to begin the discussion as was brought up last night by Mike. I think I have a feeling that what he said resonated with a lot of council members, but I can't speak for anybody else. It did with me. And so in that case, my goal is to have it at a soon to approach council meeting, whether it's Monday or the second one in August. I just think we need to have a conversation, and to your point, how do we move forward? And I'm sure Nick, he's familiar with the process of if it's got to change a charter, we can talk about that and then have our staff work on moving that forward if the council wants to do that.
Should we adjourn just in case to the next council meeting, if that does get added to the agendas, that commissioners could be present?
Well, when it's not inappropriate to do that, you all can be there and then be part of a discussion. Then if you are adjourning to that, that's a safe bet. You're not actually calling a meeting, but if you all are in one place, it would be quite legal to do that, or at least a quorum of you. And then you could be there as commissioners if that is on the agenda for Monday. What I'll just say, I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Unless there's council.
Well, I guess in my opinion, if we're gonna do this, I think we should back up a hair. I mean, would it be normal to do a presentation from commission to city council of, hey, we'd like to see this happen? This is all the reasons why. Would that be more?
Well, that's where we get it on the agenda for Monday, and I can send something to Nick either today or tomorrow, and then we can have the council see what they would like.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
I see.
I mean, I can't tell the council, let's have a presentation. I mean, so if they want to hear that.
Yeah, I don't know all the procedures. I'm just asking, so.
Right.
No, it's a great question. Yes, Stella?
And all I was gonna say is I think it would be wise to adjourn to the next council meeting anyway, if staff happens to have the language of the charter down anyway, we might be able to hit two birds with one stone on that one. So if we could adjourn to the August 4th council meeting, that'd be great.
Yeah, just so you know, I don't think you have to publicly note that you're meeting there, but if you are there, you're covered by.
Correct.
You're not planning a meeting at the council meeting like a joint workshop, but if you
Right.
are there as a quorum, you would be able to participate as far as I understand the open meeting law.
You bet.
It's a little short to get that out anyways.
I can't be there the 4th. I know that much.
Okay, I think it's safe to do that, though, if those of us that can would like to be there at the city council meeting. Okay, that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
To the city council meeting?
To the August
4th? So moved.
4th city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your week.